Object targeted. Firing.
Oh shit. No way! No way! God, that's so fucking stupid. Titans, Titans, Titans. I've said a lot about this show already, but after my first video on it, I got so many comments from people saying the show was actually good, and that season 2 is much better, and that it's really decent. And to all those people, I want to ask, whatever drugs you're taking, can I have them? Because this show has given me mental damage that I don't think I'll ever recover from. It is so astronomically bad in almost every aspect that I'm surprised it has such a dedicated fan base at all. And I'm even more surprised that this show got more seasons than Batwoman did, despite being equally as terrible. And I will continue to die on the hill that this is one of the worst superhero shows of all time. People say, oh, She-Hulk's worse, Gotham Knights is worse, etc., etc. Not only do I think this show is equally as bad as Gotham Knights, at some points it's even worse. At least Gotham Knights only had one season because they were smart enough to recognize that at the very least when you release something that's so astronomically terrible it redefines the word garbage, you should stop there. But Titans didn't, because they had a story they wanted to tell and they continued it. Boy did they continue it. So I guess I should say hello everyone, you're watching Dead Topics, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as we want. I'm your host Dave, and welcome to hell. Now, I've already covered Season 1 of Titans, and you can go watch that video, but Season 1 of Titans, surprisingly, doesn't end in Season 1 of Titans. It ends in Season 2 of Titans. If that doesn't make any sense, well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You see, the showrunners of Titans seem to want to end on very strange, unresolved cliffhangers that almost make it feel like the story's being put on a hold prematurely so they can continue in another season. And in the finale of Season 1, they don't defeat the villain of Season 1. They defeat the villain on the very first episode of Season 2. So the beginning feels like an ending, and it's also a very unsatisfying one. You would think after decades of television, writers would understand the basic concept of ending your first season in your first season, but apparently not. So they defeat the main villain Trigon, Raven's dad, just in the first episode and then move on, and it feels so awkward and strange. Basically, the Titans sort of faff around being completely useless because they suck, and then Raven finally decides to turn on her plot armor, just walks up and kills Trigon, I guess. And right before she does it, she drops the most nonsensical and dumbest one-liner in, I think, all of fiction, honestly.
You know what they say. Genetics is destiny.
This line not only makes no sense in context, but is also kind of stupid when you think about the fact that the main plot revolves around people getting past their genetics, so genetics isn't destiny, according to the show. So Raven just says something that's blatantly wrong and then wins, which doesn't make any sense. It's literally the opposite of what she believes. Well, the villain they hyped up for an entire season is now dead, so what now? They've managed to defeat a powerful demon who is going to destroy the entire world, so how do they step it up from here? Well, they fight a retired assassin who's like really old. Look, I like Deathstroke, okay, he's super cool, but fighting Deathstroke after fighting Trigon is kind of like dueling Jesus Christ and then afterwards fighting Muhammad Ali. Was it entirely necessary for them to do Trigon first and then Deathstroke second? Trigon should be the final villain, not the first one. Imagine if in the first Avengers movie they just beat the shit out of Thanos and then spent the next movie trying to fight Loki. It just wouldn't hit as hard. Also, I just want you to keep in mind, Raven killed Trigon. She killed him. Just so we're clear on that, that's a setup for later. So I guess I should go over the rest of the plot now that Trigon stuff wrapped itself up, like, almost immediately.
Can you tell us what happened?
We can't say for sure. All we know is that whatever the cause of the phenomenon, it appears to have been abated by this new group of masked heroes. So, apart from some dead birds, we seem to have...
Titans are back, bitches! Woo!
You're kind of an asshole, aren't you, kid?
So I've alluded many times at this point that Deathstroke is the main villain, but kind of not really. There's actually two main villains, and then there's also a third villain that's introduced that has a whole plot. Okay, this plot is convoluted. That's the first thing you're going to have to understand about Titans. It feels like there's 3 seasons worth of plot lines getting shoved into a single season on this one, and it feels like we're bouncing around like a ping pong ball going between them. Almost every single member of the Titans has their own plot line going on that's completely disconnected from everything else, so we just end up bouncing back and forth, going between random Titans, and these plot lines barely ever coalesce. The disconnect between the plot lines that are happening is going to become a big issue for this season, so I'm going to talk about each one individually, which is part of why this video is probably going to be very long. Let's start with the Deathstroke plot line, since that's the main one. A long time ago, the group known as the Titans were formed, made up of a bunch of sidekicks and lamos. You had Robin, Wonder Girl, Aqualad, Dove, Hawk, you know, people you'd recognize. Wonder Girl obviously comes from Themyscira, which is like the island filled with Amazon women who were super soldiers, but one of them gets a hit placed on them, and someone's paying top dollar to have this Themysciran, I think, ambassador just shot to death. And she can also throw shurikens so hard they cut bullets out of the air, so, you know, trying to kill them with a gun is stupid, but apparently it'll work. But Deathstroke misses because he sucks, and he accidentally hits Aqualad and kills him, you know, with a bullet. Oh no, not Aqualad. He was my favorite. So everyone in the group is obviously upset, and they decide to start going after Deathstroke for this. And they want to kill him. Dove specifically says they're going to kill Deathstroke. Just so we're clear, they say they're going to kill Deathstroke. And everyone is fine with that, including Hank. Just so we're clear, it'll be important later. So Deathstroke is obviously an assassin, but he originally worked for the United States military, and they did experiments on him to give him super strength and regeneration. You know the whole story. Later on, he had a family and a kid named Jericho, who is a character from the comics, and I think he was also in the cartoon. They also race-swapped him too, because of course they did. Although I don't think anyone cared, especially not me, because nobody knows who Jericho is. Sorry if I'm offending you comic book readers. Maybe he's the most important character in all of DC, which is why I've never heard of him before. So the Titans go after Jericho because they want information about Deathstroke, but Jericho is actually special because he inherits some superpowers. What are these superpowers? Well, you would think they would be, you know, super strength and regeneration, since that's Deathstroke's powers, right? But no, he has the power to throw his consciousness into other people's bodies and control their minds. Which, that's definitely a power you could have. What? Also, skipping ahead a bit, Deathstroke has another kid, and they have regeneration and super strength. So, why would Jericho not have that? I know this is a comic book show and goofy stuff can happen, but I really want to put the onus on the writers to try and explain to me how regeneration turns into consciousness manipulation. Like, those aren't even close. It also makes you wonder if the US government can just make people who can do that, because that would be very powerful, even more so than super strength. Imagine if they made people who could mind control foreign leaders to make them do whatever they want. Also, there is a genetic lab run by Lex Luthor who's making some advanced super soldiers, so I wonder if he's going to figure out that, you know, you can manufacture people who can mind control. Anyway, to make an excessively long story short, Robin tries to fight Deathstroke, and then Jericho accidentally gets killed by Deathstroke during their fight. Something else happens, but I'll talk about that later. Afterwards, the Titans disband for the first time, and honestly, the world's probably better off without them, but whatever. But that brings us to today. The new Titans have been formed, with members like Jason Todd, who this show treats awfully, Raven, who is so overpowered the story needs to find excuses to write her out of the plot as much as possible, Beast Boy, who... Good God, Beast Boy, that's going to be a whole section on its own, and finally Dick Grayson, Camp Counselor, who's not Robin because he destroyed his Robin suit. Spoiler alert, he becomes Nightwing. No, it's not cool. While the Titans are busy faffing around and doing nothing, they run into another superpowered person, Rose, the daughter of Deathstroke. Her costume has to be the dumbest in the entire series. Did they get that from a Party City? God, it looks bad. I'm just gonna throw the twist out there because it's super obvious. She's working with Deathstroke. She's a mole inside the group, and she's working with him the entire time. They play it off like it's a shocking reveal, but it's super obvious because the daughter of Deathstroke does not interact with Deathstroke for the majority of the series. You would think, you know, the daughter of Deathstroke would, you know, interact with him, talk with him, maybe say, oh, you're my father, blah, blah, blah. But that never happens because if it did, it would be super obvious they're faking. So she just spends the entire season ignoring Deathstroke, then runs away with Jason and says, "I'm not gonna work for you anymore, Dad," and we're supposed to act like we're shocked at this twist. But it is so obvious from the get-go, so there isn't really much point in keeping it hidden. So why don't we talk about Deathstroke's plan for a second? He doesn't like the Titans because, Jericho's dead and he's really salty about that. Or, well, we assume Jericho's dead. Wink, 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 wink. And Deathstroke really wants revenge because Dick Grayson is reforming the Titans and he thinks the Titans are an insult and like a plague on the land and he doesn't like them. And honestly, I kind of agree with Deathstroke because the Titans suck. They cause infinitely more problems than they solve, and even the show admits they spend most of their time arguing and doing nothing. But Deathstroke wants to play mind games with them, get them to break up, and basically destroy Robin's whole life because of this situation. And his plan is kind of really, really stupid. And the stupid part revolves entirely around one character, Dr. Light. Deathstroke breaks Dr. Light out of prison and basically takes him on as like a sidekick so that they can fight the Titans. And the entire series, the question of why exactly hangs over all of our heads. Dr. Light is an unhinged lunatic and also part of one of the dumbest scenes in not only the entire show, but probably even dumber than that fight scene in Gotham Knights, which I previously called the dumbest fight scene in fiction. So this is now the dumbest fight scene in all of fiction. 100%, I'm never going to change my mind on this. As we all know, when a critic says something is the worst thing of all time, they're always telling the truth, and that's a fact. But before I talk about that fight scene, I'm also going to have to talk about Hawk and Dove briefly. They sucked in the first season and were kind of pointless, and they suck in this season and are kind of pointless. There is an extended romance plot between the two that goes on for many, many episodes and continues throughout the series, and I just could not bring myself to care. It would be much more preferable if these losers just left the plot after the first season, but no, they gotta stay because they were part of the original Titans. Dr. Light is a supervillain who can, well, absorb light after a science experiment went wrong, and he is a very dangerous villain. He wants revenge against the Titans because they stopped him from absorbing the energy from a laser weapon that was going to give him the power of a walking nuke. That's an exact quote. He was going to become as powerful as a nuke. So this is a potentially nuclear-level threat who has now just escaped, and his prison situation is so stupid. He controls light and can absorb light, and right outside of his cell is just a bunch of light fixtures for him to absorb. This could be a potentially nuclear-level threat if he escapes, and the people containing him are dipshits. So Slade decides to break him out, and no, it's not because he would be super powerful, because Slade can just kill the Titans on his own, honestly, so he doesn't really need Dr. Light. But he uses Dr. Light to draw them back to San Francisco. What? I just want to point out, Deathstroke wants the Titans to be broken up forever, so his plan to do that is to bring in Hawk and Dove by having Dr. Light attempt to kill them. So he wants the Titans to split up, so he decides to bring members of the Titans who already agreed to split up back together. What? The Titans already split up. You want to deal with the new Titans who have little to nothing to do with the old Titans because they're not working with each other currently. You literally brought them together. That's the exact antithesis of your plan. You should have just left Hawk and Dove alone. They probably wouldn't have come back to San Francisco at all if you didn't, blow up their house. Oh, sorry, I was going to talk about the dumbest fight scene in all of fiction, wasn't I? I'm sorry, I'm just getting off track because this plot is going all over the place with a dozen characters that don't need to be here. There's so much stupidity, it's diverting my focus. I can't focus on anything. Now, Slade doesn't want to kill the Titans, and he tells Dr. Light this, but honestly, I don't think that's an excuse for what Dr. Light does next. It's established that Dr. Light is an unhinged psychopath who also really, really wants to murder them. In fact, he goes against Slade later on because he wants to kill them immediately. And Slade has to kill him so that he doesn't do that, which begs the question, if you're just gonna murder him anyway, why even bring him along? This whole plan is stupid. So there's no way Slade could trust Dr. Light not to murder them the second he sees them. It's honestly would be way more in character for him to do that. So don't give me the excuse, oh, he doesn't want to kill the Titans, because he totally does and would totally do that. So Dr. Light's plan is to absorb the light and energy from the entirety of the San Francisco power grid. This causes a mass blackout across the entire city except for the stadium where he wants to draw the Titans in. So let me just put this into perspective. A notorious supervillain has just been broken out of a super jail, all the guards killed. He is a nuclear-level threat who can absorb the entire power grid of San Francisco and shut down an entire city. So my question is, where's the Justice League? Oh yeah, they exist in this universe. Superman too. And Superman is stated to be able to fly faster than the speed of light and be able to lift skyscrapers by Starfire. A nuclear-level supervillain has just been released and the Justice League are nowhere to be found. And Batman should totally be aware of this because he's got connections with Dick Grayson currently. So where the hell are they? Nowhere, apparently. This is the notorious question that superhero cinematic universes have to answer. Why don't they call the Avengers? If you're gonna set up the Justice League and have them exist and reference them constantly, you really need a solid excuse for them to not show up when, you know, a nuclear-level threat is walking around the city of San Francisco and shutting down entire power grids. But I hesitate to call the Justice League stupid for this, because there's another group that's even dumber, the Titans. So, a nuclear-level threat has just been released onto the city. He's absorbed the energy of the entire power grid. He has to have more energy than he's ever had before. He's gonna be like a Avengers-level threat. He's gonna destroy the city. You gotta do something about it. But don't worry. They've got a plan. Their plan, and I'm not making this up, their plan is to go to the stadium, which is obviously a trap, with no super suits. Hawk and Dove do not wear their super suits, even though they have them, and just go out and, like, walk in front of him. Oh, you think I'm not joking. That's their fucking plan. Their plan was to walk in front of him. What? What the hell were they thinking?
Is your idiot brain getting fucked by stupid? It's not rhetorical. Answer me.
So Dr. Light's got more power than he ever has before. He's an unhinged lunatic. He wants to kill the Titans. Let's see him tear this group to shreds. He runs away. He runs away. And of course, we have the return of the notorious super stealth for no reason. Dr. Light makes a flash. He's in the middle of a stadium, a fucking football stadium, and he just makes a light for a couple seconds and disappears. Where did he go? Did he run all the way to the exit that quickly? Does he have super speed? Can he turn into light? I hope not, because they would be dead. Wonder Girl also has super speed, but we'll talk about that later. So the Titans, like, run after him and try to fight him like a bunch of morons, even though they don't have their super suits on, and 3 of them don't have superpowers, and they're going up against a nuclear fucking threat. Hank immediately gets burned because he's useless and stupid, and I don't know why he's even here. Robin somehow dodges a beam of light from Dr. Light. Does Robin have superpowers? Or are Dr. Light's light beams slower than bullets? I'm starting to think these writers don't know how light works. So everyone here is useless except for Wonder Girl because she actually has superpowers, thank God. So she decides to grab a motorcycle and throw it on top of Dr. Light. I just want to point out, Dr. Light gets killed by some bullets later. He can get a motorcycle slammed on top of his head with the force of a Themysciran warrior, but I guess a bullet's too much for him? I want you to try and grab a motorcycle and then chuck it at somebody with that amount of force that quickly and see if they survive. I'd be very interested to see how those tests work out. Also interested to see how you threw a motorcycle that hard. Anyway, after that, Dr. Light just runs away again. Jesus Christ. Stupid shit like this is all over the show, and the fight scenes are utterly ridiculous, and they seem to not understand that Robin, Hawk, and Dove don't have superpowers in this. Or at the very least, they haven't established that. I've heard people tell me Dove has superpowers in the comics, but she doesn't seem to have them here. She just kind of punches people. Does she have super strength? They should have said that. Also, again, going without your super suits. Why? You had no reason to do that. First of all, what if some random pedestrian saw you fighting Dr. Light in the middle of the street? I guess your secret identity's blown. Although apparently Slade just knows all their secret identities already. Why he doesn't use that to his advantage to break them up? I don't know. You could release it to the public so that they catch the vigilantes who are, you know, causing massive problems throughout the city. And trust me, the cops in this universe would absolutely love to know those vigilantes' secret identities and put them behind bars. Honestly, that should have been Deathstroke's plan. If he wants them split up forever, just release their secret identities to the public so that the police can arrest them and break up their superhero group. You don't want to kill them, and you want them split up forever, so prison seems like a good option. I don't think the police would be able to put Raven behind bars, but still. Also, speaking of Raven, you may realize that she's not here, and that's because if she was here, the whole Dr. Light story would have ended. That's because Raven would have killed him by, flicking her wrist. She even says as such. If they had brought Raven along, none of this would have happened, Hank wouldn't have gotten injured, and Dr. Light wouldn't have escaped. But no, Robin decides not to bring any of the others because this isn't their fight, and they aren't ready for this, and blah 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 blah. Robin, you suck, okay? You suck, you're way weaker than Raven. Bring Raven, you moron. Jason gets completely ignored and shoved off, even though he's a highly capable fighter who literally saved Robin's life. And Beast Boy, well, okay, Beast Boy is kind of lame. Dr. Light would have fried that tiger, but still, you get what I'm saying. I think the story is trying to do the whole trope of not trusting the younger members of the superhero team, which, am I the only one who's sick and tired of that trope in superhero shows? Let the superheroes be superheroes, goddammit. I'm so sick of shows that just have the superheroes do nothing but talk all day long, get locked up in a tower, train, and then do nothing for the majority of the story. Just let them be superheroes. This is a fucking superhero show. But we can't let Raven be a superhero, because if she was, all the villains would be dead. Raven is so astronomically overpowered and her abilities so poorly defined that she could realistically do anything. In fact, here's just a small list of the things she can do. Fly, telekinetically throw objects, create jump scares, liquefy people from the inside out, heal any wound, whether it be mental or physical. She can create massive black tendrils that grab people. She can animate statues to turn them into monsters. She can control people's minds. She's clairvoyant. What can't this girl do? There is pretty much no one in this show that could stop Raven. The villain's the least. So the story has to try really, really, really hard for her and Deathstroke to never be in the same room, because Deathstroke would be turned into paste. Anyway, Jason gets fed up with being ignored because everybody treats him like shit, so he decides to try and hunt down Dr. Light on his own, and Beast Boy kind of shows up, but Beast Boy's useless, so doesn't really help. If only Beast Boy had some sort of enhanced sense of smell that could let him track down Jason. If only. Anyway, Jason fights Dr. Light one-on-one and somehow wins, because I guess the show forgot Dr. Light has superpowers or something. Seriously, what is going on with Dr. Light? He can shoot light beams and blow people up from the inside out and, fry an entire car with a single blast. How is Jason Todd beating him? At least Jason had the brains to wear his super suit, looking at you, Hawk and Dove, fucking morons. But Deathstroke shows up at the last moment to predictably capture Jason. How he knew it would be Jason specifically, and how this was part of his plan at all, I'm not quite sure. If Raven came along, he would be dead, so I guess he got lucky. Deathstroke kills Dr. Light. Way to use that villain to his peak potential, guys. While the others are left scrambling like a bunch of morons. And Raven's clairvoyance powers now stop working. Convenient. So everyone but Rose in the group seems to want to go after Jason. Rose isn't really part of the group yet, and she's acting kind of like a dick about Jason getting captured and blaming him for it, which it is kind of his fault, but also with what Rose does later, this is kind of weird. I would also like to point out that Hank acts like Jason is very important to him, which, oh boy, that is gonna come back later. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, we need to save Jason. Oh, I can relate to him. Yeah, give it a few episodes, you assholes. They manage to track down Jason to a skyscraper, and Robin abandons the group and decides to go after Deathstroke himself so he can sacrifice himself to Deathstroke so that he'll stop bothering the Titans. Brilliant plan, Robin. Brilliant plan. It doesn't work, obviously, and Jason is tied to the top of a skyscraper and is gonna fall off and die if Robin doesn't do something. But then everyone's favorite character, Starfire, comes in to save the day. Oh boy, Starfire. I was avoiding talking about Starfire because her story going on right now is so different from everything else that's happening, and I also just don't want to talk about this version of Starfire anymore, but we'll get to it. Deathstroke activates the bomb and Jason falls nearly to his death. Now, Jason would have died here if he didn't get ex-machina'd. But I'm not going to talk about how he gets saved for now because I'm saving that, you guessed it, for another section. For now, all you need to know is that Jason survives the fall and he gets PTSD from this, imagining himself falling over and over and over again, and he starts the beginnings of his mental breakdown. Okay, what they do with Jason later on, I think is so downright criminal and disrespectful that it pisses me off, genuinely. Look, I usually tend to over-exaggerate in these reviews, for the sake of entertainment value, but what they did with Jason genuinely made me angry. And that's because I kind of like Jason in this show. In a weird way, he's not exactly a great character or anything, but the way they treat him is just so terrible that it genuinely made me want to like the character. And in order to talk about that, I have to talk about Robin for a bit. I'm going to talk about this more in depth later. I have a lot of things to talk about more in depth later. But Robin, at this point in the story, is developing schizophrenia. He is turning into a lunatic. Last season, he was injected with a bunch of powerful hallucinogens that made him go nearly insane, and now I guess the effects are catching up with him. He's hallucinating an imaginary version of Bruce, which is mocking him and criticizing him for all his terrible actions, which, honestly, fair enough, Bruce is right about everything. This Robin is a terrible person and really stupid. And after being tormented enough, he goes on what I can only describe as a mental break as he runs out of the tower, finds a guy, points a gun in his head, threatens to kill him, and wants information about Slade. He hunts down one of the people who works with Slade and, holds him at gunpoint and threatens to murder him. And when he finally gets called by Slade, he finds out that there's a mole inside Titan's tower. Who could it be? It's Rose. Duh, obviously it's Rose. Anyone would figure that out. So, Rose this entire time has been taking pictures of the Titans, and she's also been messing with their heads a little bit. She's been trying to stir up drama inside the group, and she started planting random objects in people's rooms as a way to mock them or criticize them. She draws a bunch of crucifixes inside Raven's room, she adds a bottle of bourbon inside Hawk's room to make fun of his addiction. And finally, this is an important one, she adds an orange soda inside Wonder Girl's room. Now, I didn't mention this before, but Wonder Girl and Aqualad shared an orange soda at one point, and that was a significant object to them. So obviously putting that in her room is going to make her upset, makes sense, but think about that for a second. It was a special object between her and Aqualad, something that very few people would actually know about. So when all this stuff starts happening, who does the team immediately blame? Jason. They blame Jason for absolutely everything, and everybody is on board that Jason is doing it.
What? What the fuck?
What the fuck? Okay, look, the thing with Raven I can kind of understand, because he called Raven a freak earlier when Raven tried to murder him. Raven tried to murder him, by the way. She totally could have killed him right then and there and he would be dead. But everyone else, even the adults, suddenly turning on Jason out of absolutely nowhere and blaming him for everything that's happening in the tower? What the hell? First of all, Jason has been in his room the entire time and people know this. Second of all, he was just recently kidnapped and almost murdered and is now having a psychotic break, which they should also know just by observing his behavior. It's super obvious. And third of all, Rose should be their prime suspect. She was already super suspicious. Also, this place has fucking cameras in it. Why are they not looking at the cameras? And finally, this is the most important part, how in the hell would Jason know about Hawk's addiction or the orange soda thing? The Titans have been specifically keeping secrets from each other. That's one of the main fucking plot points, that they aren't telling them what happened in the past with the old Titans. They don't fucking know. Jason doesn't even know the whole story yet. And if he doesn't know that, how the hell would he have known about the orange soda in the first place? That doesn't make any sense. The only people who would realistically know about that are Slade, because he's been analyzing them and studying them for years now, and also the other members of the Titans. And they know the other members of the Titans didn't do it, so it would have to been Slade. But every single character just suddenly turns their brains off and turns against Jason, the kid who nearly died a couple days ago and who they all said they cared about. They treat him like dog shit when he's on the cusp of a mental breakdown, and they act like such massive assholes. Look, I already hated most of these characters because they're stupid, annoying, and they make dumb decisions pretty much every single day, but this made me hate them even more than I already did, which I didn't think was possible, but here we are. Also, fuck Hawk specifically, because he pretended he cared a lot about Jason, but was immediately ready to turn on him for no reason. Fucking lying ass. Being real with you, Hawk is now my least favorite character, even more than Starfire. He is a lunatic, he's an asshole, he says stupid shit, and there's one thing he says later on that I'm gonna highlight near the end of this video. God, he's such an idiot. So at this point, Jason is unraveling. Everybody who he once cared about is now turning on him. Bruce is nowhere to be found, and he decides to take some drastic action. And now I'm going to describe the scene that made me originally hate this show and think it was one of the worst superhero shows of all time. This scene made me originally quit watching it, and is what inspired my hatred for this show many, many years ago. I also think it's time for me to put this up on the screen. Although I probably should have put in that second warning up, like at the start of the video, but it's too late now. Now, how do I put this in a monetizable way? Jason wants to arrange a meeting between his face and the pavement at speeds that are not recommended for safety purposes. And the Titans 100% did this to him, pushing him to the edge, treating him like garbage for the entire season, and turning on him for no reason when the evidence literally supported his case. And nobody else goes to stop him but Robin, because Robin is the only one who actually cares about him at all. Robin tries to stop him by telling him the story of what actually happened and why the Titans broke up, which is what I described at the beginning of all this. He tells them how much the Titans suck, how much they screwed up, how they got a kid killed, and honestly, I'm not sure how any of this is inspiring Jason to want to not leap off the edge. Honestly, if I was standing on the edge ready to jump and somebody decided to start describing the plot of an episode of Titans, I would probably just go for it. But for whatever reason, this convinces Jason not to, and then the group has a little talk afterwards. So what does the group do next? Do they apologize to Jason for being massive assholes and turning on him? Do they console him in any way? Do they help him in any manner? No, not a single person on the team apologizes, says anything, or even does anything for Jason immediately after he just tried to end himself. And when I saw this, I was awestruck. What the fuck is wrong with these people? For all the nonsense that this story spews about the Titans being family and loving each other and caring about each other, it doesn't actually do any of that bullshit. They treat Jason like trash and turn their back on him immediately, not doing anything to help him whatsoever, and then they're all surprised when he turns into a villain later on. They constantly talk about, oh, we're family and we're a team and we have each other's backs, but you didn't have Jason's back, did you? Didn't think so. This is a horrible superhero group. In fact, they're not superheroes at all. They're a bunch of raving lunatics in Halloween costumes. This is not a family, this is not a team, this is a gang of lunatics.
Man, what are we, a team? No. We're a chemical mixture that makes chaos. We're a time bomb.
So Robin tells the truth about how he got Jericho killed, and the entire group breaks up for like the 4th time. Okay, look, writers, you get the superhero breaking up storyline maybe once or twice, not like a dozen times across 1 or 2 seasons. If you keep doing this wishy-washy, we're gonna come together, then we break up, then we come together again, then we break up again, it's just gonna lose all meaning. You need to stop. Honestly, this team should stay broken up, because the stuff they do is utterly ridiculous and harms society more than it helps it. In fact, I'm so petty about this, I'm going to have to take a pause in between describing some of the storylines so I can talk about something else that I notice about this show. It's a motif that I first wrote off as being something that just happened one time and then moved on, but now that I've watched the show more and more, a clearer picture is starting to form. The writers of this show hate police officers. They despise police officers, in fact. I ignored it at first, thinking it was just coincidence, but then it started happening more and more and more, and then I realized that this was them trying to make some sort of statement. Think about it. Starfire beats up cops. Rose beats up cops. Robin beats up cops. Jason beats up cops. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Titans have fought more cops than they have actual criminals. They beat the shit out of police officers so frequently that I had to start a beats up cops counter during my watch through. In fact, the plot takes an entire detour for Robin to go to prison because he puts himself in prison because he thinks he needs to be locked up, which he does, granted. And when he goes to jail, the plot suddenly gets put on a halt so that he can deal with immigration services? A group of dirty cops is like in cahoots with the Mexican cartel, and they're deciding to ship out a bunch of prisoners who were arrested wrongfully and are now getting deported, and the entire time I was just like, what the fuck? Okay, look, writers, I don't have any problem with you discussing political issues in shows. I don't mind that, actually. If you have something interesting to say about the current nature of the world and you want to describe it in the form of like a show, that's perfectly fine with me. But I will also advise you to get a dictionary and look up this word right here, and maybe this word too, because You guys don't seem to know what these two words mean, so if you could just like Google it real quick, that would be very helpful. That word is subtlety. Subtlety. That's what that word is. Do you know what that word means? Subtlety. If you want to discuss these topics in a subtle and nuanced way, that would be wonderful. If you know what those words mean, of course, because I don't think you do, so you might want to look those up, writers. Okay. And when you discuss these topics, I would also prefer that they don't cause your story to become nonsensical. Like, for instance, if a bunch of vigilantes who were shown to work with the police on multiple occasions didn't, I don't know, beat the ever-living shit out of a ton of police officers multiple times on camera. Or, I don't know, if they decided to break into a federal prison on camera, beating the shit out of the prison guards and also attempting to break out a notorious criminal. Because whatever you have to say about cops, I would know for a fact that if someone broke into a federal prison and put a ton of police officers in the hospital, they probably wouldn't want to work with them. In fact, I think that might cause some sort of international incident if a superpowered person broke into a prison and broke somebody out. I think there's a term for people who do that. What is it? Oh yeah, supervillain? Okay, say whatever the fuck you want about the justice system. Maybe you don't like cops. I don't care. But Robin beat up 2 police officers in broad daylight and assaulted them when they did absolutely nothing to him. Robin committed a crime. He's now a criminal. And for him to not be a complete hypocrite, he would have to serve his sentence. But he doesn't. He gets broken out of prison and then continues his reign of terror. These people talk about justice, work with the police, and put criminals behind bars, yet when one of them becomes a literal fucking criminal, they decide to work with him still? It's nonsense. Like, these are not superheroes, they're supervillains, they're criminals.
A thief! A criminal! He's a menace to the entire city! I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted!
But anyway, when Raven and Starfire break into a federal prison which has probably dozens of cameras, they find the cell is empty. And all that's left on the inside is the scrawling of a madman, which says, Jericho is alive. So Robin has clearly gone insane, and I kind of wonder how he managed to get out of his solitary confinement cell without opening the door or getting caught. I guess he just had really good reflexes. Okay, but as much as I would love for this story to be Robin turning into a psychopath and the Titans beating his ass, he is actually right. Jericho is alive. You see, he conscious swapped into Deathstroke right before he died and is now, like, stuck inside his weird mind prison, which is so strange, and I'm kind of confused on why this is a plot point at all. I guess it was just a cheap way to have Robin not have to, you know, pay the piper for his actions, getting a boy killed. Anyway, Robin gets a new super suit, and now he's Nightwing. Yay, Nightwing. I just love this fucking show. Ugh. Also, I hope he's prepared to wear that costume for the rest of his life, because he can say bye-bye to going outside as Dick Grayson, since he should be the FBI's most wanted right now. In fact, all the Titans should probably be on more than a few most wanted lists. Anyway, Robin and Deathstroke have a fight scene, and then Rose shows up because she left Jason. That relationship was never going to work out. But then, for some reason, she turns on Deathstroke and then says, "The Titans are my family." What? Rose spent like the entire show being a dick and calling everyone out and then left them immediately, and now they're her family? Huh? This change of heart was completely unwarranted and makes absolutely no sense in the story. But regardless, Rose fights Deathstroke and then kills him. She kills him. And everyone just moves on. So just to be clear, the Titans killed Deathstroke. Just so we're clear on that. So that's it, right? Main villain dead, show over. No, young child, the show is not over. In fact, we're only just getting started on the stupid, because there's several other plot lines that have been happening in the background. In fact, the battle against Deathstroke isn't even the final fight in the season. But before we go talk about the other plot lines, there's another thing I want to talk about. There's one scene that happens in this show that left me utterly baffled, and I still don't know what to think of it. So before they break Robin out of prison, Hawk and Dove split up, and then Dove gets like a weird message over the radio, Starfire gets a weird message on the TV, and Raven gets like a weird dream, and it drags them all to a diner in the middle of nowhere. Raven has another dream while she's there, which has some of the goofiest editing I think I've ever seen. Like, look at this.
Dick, look out! Dick, no! No!
Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast, too fast, too fast, too fast, too faster!
So they all show up at this diner and are confused as to why they all got called here, and Raven has no idea what's going on. And then Bruce Wayne shows up to the diner and just starts like talking to them, and then says like, you guys need to be a family and work together. And then he just leaves. And the entire time I was just sitting there watching this and wondering if the writers had like a stroke or something. What is this scene? Then Starfire says this line, which I think will go down in history.
Bruce Wayne somehow miraculously arranged for us all to meet in this diner in the middle of nowhere to mansplain us into putting the Titans back together.
And then they get a message on a magic TV which tells them that Robin is in prison, which the fact that they don't already know that Robin is in prison is really stupid considering that he's Dick Grayson, the adopted son of Bruce Wayne, one of the most richest and most powerful people on planet Earth, and it got broadcast in the news, so why did they not know about it? And also, Bruce didn't tell them anything about it, so apparently he didn't know either before he left, so I guess he just doesn't know where Dick is. So, God, this is dumb. You know, I genuinely have no clue what the fuck this scene even was. If you wanted the Titans to come back together, there are like endless ways you could do that, and they chose the strangest one. This makes absolutely no sense, and I'm struggling to figure out what the writer's thought process was here. Like, did someone go into a room filled with people and pitch the idea of them magically getting pulled to a diner by Bruce Wayne, who says absolutely nothing, then leaves, and then they get magic TV support to help them with the plot? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I genuinely cannot understand the headspace that these writers are in. Sometimes I can understand why bad writing decisions happen, but here I'm stumped. But we still have a lot more bad writing to go through, so why don't we go on to the next major plot point. So Superboy is in this show now, and I haven't mentioned him up until this point because his connection to the main plot is non-existent. He has no connection to Deathstroke or any of the Titans before this, so he just kind of shows up and has his own entire storyline happening that's just getting mixed in with the Deathstroke stuff, and it doesn't connect, like, at all. So Superboy is a genetic experiment. He is a clone using Lex Luthor and Superman's DNA, which means he has the powers of Superman, but also the intelligence of Lex Luthor because he has an epigenetic memory, which in layman's terms means he can only remember things the plot will let him. He was created by Cadmus Industries, which works with Lex Luthor, and the people at Cadmus are the other main villain of the story. And of course, they have zero connection with Slade. The best I could come up with is maybe they were working with the government who experimented on him to make him a super soldier, maybe? But even that wouldn't be much of a direct connection since Slade never interacts with anyone from Cadmus, pretty much ever. So Superboy, with his powers, escapes, obviously, and goes out and just beats the ever-living shit out of every single scientist and guard who gets in front of him. We see the whole place is torn to shit, there's blood splatters on the walls. He basically ripped some of these guys to shreds, and they're probably either dead or the rest of them are in critical condition in the hospital. So just to be clear, Superboy had no problems killing these people. Also, he brings along Crypto, which has that goofy scene I showed at the beginning. Let's watch that clip again, it's really funny. No way! Anyway, Superboy escapes, goes about the town, finds an old lady who's being robbed, stops her from being robbed, and then robs her. Yeah, he just steals her money. I guess that got a chuckle out of me. And a scientist, who I forgot the name of, is now working with the other main villain chick, who I also forgot the name of, and they're trying to bring Superboy back alive because they spent a lot of money on him. And these guys go in equipped with assault rifles and like rocket launchers and stuff, all of which do absolutely nothing to Superboy, because no shit, he has the DNA of Superman, who is stated to be able to lift fucking skyscrapers and fly at the speed of light, and he also has super speed, and can dodge bullets, and he's invulnerable, and he's super strong, and he has laser eyes. Like, what were they thinking they were gonna do with guns and a rocket launcher? And you may think, oh, well, they just don't have the resources to stop Superman, but they have kryptonite. In fact, they have a lot of kryptonite. They have kryptonite bullets, kryptonite nets, a kryptonite collar, and they brought absolutely none of their kryptonite equipment the first time they try to catch Superboy. They bring it later in the story, but they don't bring it now, and don't even give me the excuse that they weren't trying to kill them, because they have a kryptonite net and stuff that can capture him without killing him. But of course they don't bring it, because if they did, they would have captured Superboy and the rest of the plot wouldn't have happened. So once again, the villains have to suffer from plot-induced stupidity, and they look like utter morons just because if they were smart, the plot wouldn't exist. But even if they brought kryptonite, maybe you could argue that it wouldn't work because he has super speed and he's just so ridiculously overpowered. In fact, he's so overpowered, they have to write him out of the story, just like Raven. Great. Skipping past a few things, Superboy catches Jason Todd and saves him from falling. Yeah, that's how he survived. And then gets shot by a kryptonite bullet, and then he gets stuck, like, inside of a hospital bed for the majority of the season. So remember before how I was, like, dogging on the Titans for being stupid, irresponsible, and terrible people? Well, this is yet another example. First of all, Starfire, knows Kryptonian, even though she said it was a dead language. Why she learned Kryptonian, I don't know. Did the Kryptonians and, like, the Tamaranians work together in this universe? That could have been something interesting to explore, but instead we're focusing on this lame-ass plot. And then she uses her solar radiation powers to heal him up. Honestly, I'm surprised the writers even remembered that Superman got powers from the sun. Anyway, afterwards he gets put in a coma and just kind of lies in bed inside Titan's tower, and then everybody leaves. So they left a clone of Superman, which they know is a clone of Superman, alone in the Titan's tower with no supervision outside of Beast Boy, who is an idiot. Imagine if you just brought a nuke into the middle of your home and then left it with like a toddler and said, okay, have fun, kids, and then everybody leaves for like weeks on end. The sheer level of irresponsibility and stupidity that comes with that decision is beyond measure. I get that these guys all hate each other, but you have a fucking superhuman who could probably destroy the entire city sitting in a coma, and you're just gonna leave him there when you know that there's supervillains after you? It's such a baffling move, and these people just look like more of irresponsible idiots than they already did. And there's absolutely no way they thought the tower would be safe, because they know that Slade has infiltrated the tower already and has gone and done stuff in the tower, so the tower is compromised. So this leaves just Superboy and Beast Boy together, and Beast Boy tries to train Superboy on being a superhero, and then takes him out in public, and the expected happens. We know that Superboy, if he wants to be a Titan, has to complete the Titan initiation ritual, which is beating the ever-loving shit out of a bunch of police officers. Who could have guessed? But he doesn't just beat up a bunch of cops, no. A bunch of police cars drive after him, and he shoots them with his laser vision, and they fucking explode, entirely engulfed by a fireball. Okay, so Superboy just murdered at least 6 police officers. Superboy just committed an act of terrorism in the middle of San Francisco while a bunch of people were recording with their phones. First of all, Justice League, nowhere to be seen, Earth's most worthless heroes. Second of all, if this happened and a supervillain just went out of the middle of the street and killed 6 police officers in broad daylight, this would be an international incident. I get that supervillains and heroes are common in this world, but if something like this were to happen in the middle of San Francisco and 6 cops were murdered, this would be like the Sokovia Accords on steroids. We're talking government action against superheroes, regulations for metahumans, the whole 9 yards. So, is the show ready for Superboy to pay the price and face consequences for killing 6 people? They just kind of forgive him and move on. I'm serious, he goes away for a little bit, Beast Boy finds him and is just like, making mistakes is part of being a Titan. Apparently, chain murdering 6 cops in broad daylight is a mistake now. Jesus Christ. The show tries to do a cop-out and have a paper say that, oh, they're in critical condition, but shut the fuck up. There were 3 police cars that detonated, an atomic fireball consumed everything inside, and there's at least 2 cops in there per car. So that's 6 cops dead at a bare minimum. Anyway, they run back to the tower, and oh no, the tower gets invaded. Who could have seen this coming except everyone? Cadmus comes in and captures Superboy and Beast Boy, and then they start doing some experiments. So I guess I should talk about Beast Boy for a moment. What this show does to Beast Boy is, well, it's not worse than Jason, but it's getting there. Cadmus puts him in like this weird outfit which is stated to block his transformations. How it does that, I don't know. I think it has like fluid packs in the back of it or something. Are they injecting him with anti-Beast Boy juice? Where the hell did they get that? Also, we see him transform when he's in the outfit later, so I guess they were just lying and he believed it. Okay. So they have a really disgusting scene where they rip open Beast Boy's cranium and start doing brain surgery on him, and I don't think I can show it on YouTube. It's really gross, and it leads to him getting mind controlled. Then they tell him to go into a diner, and then he kills a bunch of people, just like rips them to shreds, so he's murdered several innocent people at this point, which must be very traumatizing for him. And the amount of metahuman attacks on this city within the span of like a couple weeks is so dramatic that honestly, I think some superhero groups should be stepping up, or like the government should be intervening, but none of that happens. The best we get is like a police report or like a newscast or something, and then the show just kind of ignores it. I'm skipping past a lot here because most of it's irrelevant, and the Superboy plot just drags on for way too long and just interrupts the main story. And in fact, the final fight isn't even with Slade. So Slade dying was like the penultimate fight of the series, which is ridiculous considering Slade was the main plot for the entire series. Anyway, Cadmus has mind-controlled Beast Boy and mind-controlled Superboy, and what they want to do is have Beast Boy go out, kill a bunch of people, and have Superboy stop him to use that as a marketing opportunity to sell their super soldiers to random people out in the world who are rich, I guess. Or like to different government officials or something. Why they would want to buy them when Superboy publicly went out, recorded lasering a bunch of cops, and is probably wanted by literally everybody on Earth at this moment, I don't know. You think that would be bad PR. But there's no need to fear, because the Titans are here. They've formed up again, and everybody shows up, and Hank shows up, and he immediately gets, like, tossed aside because he's trash, and he deserves to stay in a dumpster. So after Superboy just thrashes Beast Boy so hard he looks like a pathetic little kitty cat, the rest of the Titans show up and they want to take down Superboy, and they have a genius plan. Their plan is to stand there in front of him, just kind of look at him real weird. This seems to be their go-to strategy in every fight, thinking about it. Anyway, Superboy beats them all because they're trash, and then Raven has to come in and instantly win because she's Raven. Seriously, it's so funny how quickly this fight stopped whenever she was allowed to walk on screen because she was busy with Beast Boy. Like, the second she comes in, she just mind controls him, and then Dick goes inside of his mind and starts, like, punching holes in imaginary walls or something. It's the classic, you're still in there sort of situation, and God, I just want this show to be over. While this is happening, Bruce Wayne, instead of, I don't know, ringing up Superman or Wonder Woman or anybody from the Justice League, or just flying there himself, since, you know, he can get to the city of San Francisco really fast, apparently. He just hacks into their car, hacks into the villain's car and says, haha, funny. What the hell are you doing, Bruce? Anyway, Superboy's defeated, and of course the crowd around starts clapping for these dipshits, even though they're all wanted felons and have been threatening the city. So I don't know why the crowd isn't turning against them, but whatever. But of course, it wouldn't be Titans if we didn't end on a really, really stupid note. So Wonder Girl sees this pillar that's falling over and is about to hit a little girl. So of course, Superboy, with his insane super speed and reaction time, which allows him to, you know, dodge bullets, and he can also see things from miles away, and he has super senses, he's gonna see this pillar falling and go, oh, I should help this little girl, right? No, he doesn't do that. Well, Raven, with her massive, like, shadow tendrils that can grab things, is going to see this and, of course, reach out and use that to... No, she doesn't do that either. well, I guess Starfire could, Wonder Girl just runs up, grabs it, gets electrocuted, and fucking dies. She dies. Okay, I'm done talking about the ending of this show. I think that was almost everything. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Oh, of course, Starfire. Wait, no, my mistake. Stripper Fire. This is going to be the shortest section by far, because Starfire's subplot is so disconnected, so nonsensical, so unrelated to everything that's happening that it practically doesn't matter. And yet, despite that, it's tackling probably the highest stakes part of the entire story in anything the Titans have experienced. So, while everything is going on, Stripper Fire, I keep making that mistake. I don't know why I keep doing that. Anyway, Stripper Fire gets contacted by, like, an alien bodyguard that she once had and is in love with, and he kidnaps her and then takes her to a hotel, and they talk for a bit, and he wants her to return to Tamaran so she can take the throne. She doesn't want to do that because she likes living it up on Earth, and they have, like, a little spat, and they start falling in love with each other. But then, Stripper Fire's sister, Black Stripper Fire, decides to kidnap him by, like, mind controlling him, and then blows up her ship, and then she has to kill the guy she fell in love with, and then Stripper Blackfire wants to control the planet, and she... God, what the fuck is happening, guys? Honestly, why are they doing this now in the middle of a season about Slade? It's so batshit and out of nowhere that Starfire sometimes has to leave the story to go handle this stuff. Like, she'll be in a room with the Titans discussing a plan, how to deal with Slade or whatever, and then she'll be like, oh, sorry, guys, I have to go. I have, like, a whole alien invasion and, like, royal army plotline I have to do. I'll be back. So all that's just happening in the background, and then she starts losing her powers because she's overpowered and the story needs a reason to nerf her. You get the gist. And then, like, it just doesn't get resolved this season. I don't know why they did any of this. You could have just saved all this shit for, like, another season when it was the main focus, but I guess they didn't. Well, this Stripper Fire section ended up being way faster than I thought, so I guess I'll just talk about some other stuff I dislike about this show. First of all, Hawk. I said I wanted to talk about him later. So when he breaks up with Dove, he becomes like a cocaine addict and starts fighting in fight pits for money. And he gets high off his ass and sells his Hawk suit to some random dude, and then, like, wakes up and realizes, oh shit, I just sold my Hawk suit to some random dude. So he goes to find the random dude and then punches him in the face, and then this little exchange happens.
No, man. I was out there laying some Titans law.
You held up a laundromat. What kind of message does that send?
Sorry, so wait, should I have killed them? Like, killed? Like...
No, you shouldn't have killed them. Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way. Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way. Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.
No way. No way. Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way. Never before have I seen such a dumb, contradictory, and nonsensical line come out of a character's mouth. Hank, stealing and killing is exactly the Titans' way. In fact, the Titans' way is to gather a bunch of maniacs together, kill a bunch of people, cause a bunch of problems, and make everything worse. That's the Titans' way. That's all the Titans do. They're a massive problem. That's what they are. So don't give me this stealing and killing is not the Titans' way bullshit, because that's exactly what it is. The Titans are perfectly fine with killing. They kill all the time, and they'll probably continue to kill. The random basement dweeb who stole Hawk's suit would probably be a better superhero than Hawk himself is. So Hank, do everyone a favor and shut your annoying, pretentious, and downright nonsensical mouth up forever, and don't open it again. You fucking moron. Jesus, this video is already an hour long. Okay, look. I would love to talk about how Raven joined up with a bunch of homeless kids in the middle of the story for no reason, but I don't really need to. You get the picture. This show is ass. It is one of the worst superhero shows I've ever sat through, and the fact that people tell me it's good is outright baffling. It's like, are we in different timelines? Is there a different version of Titans I'm not seeing? Because the one I'm looking at right now is hot garbage. It is on equal footing with She-Hulk, Gotham Knights, and the rest of the horrible superhero shows in terms of its quality. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the other seasons are going to be even worse. So, for now, I guess this is the end. Man, I need a break. I want to thank my Patreon supporters because they're really cool and they're awesome. And you should probably donate as well, you know, wink wink. You get access to major videos early. Anyway, join my Discord, yada yada. I'm really tired. This has been Dave. And remember,
Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.